Falcon's Media Corner, and welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. And today I'm going to be talking about the 2020 Western drama known as Concrete Cowboy. Now, Concrete Cowboy, this is directed by Staub, and this basically tells the story of this 15-year-old boy named Cole, played by McLaughlin. And basically what happens is, after he gets involved with an incident in school, he basically has to spend his summer with his estranged father named Har, played by Idris Elba, who basically lives in this sort of like tight-knitted world of Philadelphia full of black cowboys, where basically, which it was basically from like 100 years ago, of the way these black cowboys have settled in Philadelphia. And basically we see Cole trying to basically interact with this world he's facing along with his father, as well as other like black cowboys. And we see him we also find out it's actually kind of a safe world, because from the outside world it's basically involving, you know, drugs and violence and all that kind of stuff. So we basically see Cole trying to settle in a safe, sort of like a safe heaven that he's about to live in with his father. So that's pretty much the story of Concrete Cowboy. So for going into Concrete Cowboy, I didn't even know much about the whole movie going into it, because nor did I realize this was actually based off a book, which I've never read. But before all of that, I heard this was originally released in 2020 in TIFF Film Festival, although I think this was originally supposed to be a theatrical release, but although due to the pandemic, I heard, well, I don't think I heard, but I heard after seeing this film, I heard back in October of last year, this was that Netflix bought this film, and then they said of March of this year, 2021, they said that this was going to be released on April the 2nd, and I didn't see it when it was released on April 2nd, because I saw a different film on release date on that day, which was The Father, which I did review that on my channel, and you can guys check it out, my review for that channel if you guys want to know my views on that film. So yeah, and but from all of that, I was familiar with the cast members. You got McLaughlin from Stranger Things, which I heard he's really good in Stranger Things, even though I've never watched the show, but I gotta watch that show at some point. But there was one big name I was very familiar with in the movie, and that was, of course, Idris Elba, which I since knew in 2011 and so on. And he's a really good actor. I've seen him in a few hit or miss. Well, the biggest miss was Cats, but there was some hits that I really enjoyed him in, like the Jungle Book, the live action version of the Jungle Book, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, Zootopia, and 20 weeks later and stuff like that. And then there was a recognizable face I soon started to recognize while I was watching this movie before, which I didn't realize he was in this film, and that was Jerome from Moonlight, which I love Moonlight. It's one of my favorite coming of age stories, and so I can't wait to review that on my channel in a special way, as well as for the movies I mentioned that Idris Elba was in, and I can't wait to review those movies for you guys. So I watched this today on Netflix, and this movie, it was great. I had a really good time with Concrete Cowboy. There are small issues, I would say, I had with this film, but they weren't like overwhelmingly like frustrating, or like they kind of bugged me while I was watching it. I was like, with them like thinking like, oh, I'm sometimes like that if there was any kind of small issues I had, or just some mild issues I had with films, but the issues I'll get into later. But the performances in the film, McLaughlin, who plays Cole in the film, he was very good at playing sort of like a punk kid at first, until he soon started to change throughout the entire film. Although there was a small weak element I had with him, which is there wasn't really much activities he does when we see him start becoming a cowboy, like his estranged father, where you kind of see him like successing, and then which it kind of didn't show that in the movie, which that was a bit odd. But still, though, McLaughlin as Cole, he was really good in the movie. And Idris Elba, who plays Hop in the film, Cole's estranged father, he was really good in this movie, and he kind of treats the other like black cowboys sort of like a father figure to them, and which he does that in a very good way, which I really like that aspect of the film. And the only kind of small issue I had with him was a bit of a lack of relationship between him and Cole in this film, which was kind of like forgotten in the film. But still, though, for seeing him on screen for what else he does, He was very good in that. He was very good for those scenes as well in this film. And also as for other performances like Jerome in this film, he was also great in this movie. All the acting in the movie were well acted. And there was some, and for the and for the people who were actually who played the cowboys in the film, they were actually some real cowboys in this film. Like that was part of this whole thing that that kind of inspired this film, which that was absolutely great, and that was a big surprise as well to see on screen. The direction, it's solidly well directed for a few scenes. The story and like the concept of the film, it does sound very good. About like about a teenager who start to basically see like a kind of a new world he's facing that feels kind of safe to him, because from outside the world he's in, there's basically a bit of like drugs and violence in this film, which of course you may know that's kind of like coming and going a bit, but for seeing those scenes when we do see that, when we see Cole settling in with the new world he's in along with his father, those scenes were pretty brutal. And however, for its writing in this film, the writing was a bit subtle at times. Again, like there were some elements that were kind of a bit forgotten, and but still though the concept of the film, I still really like the concept, despite there was a little bit of less bit of essence to it from its subtle writing, which the writing wasn't awful. The writing was still good, although there was just some subtle issues I kind of had with from its story and some aspects of the film. And another kind of small issue I had with the film was really its pacing. It's a bit slow, despite it's not like a very long film, because this is only an hour and 51 minutes, but it took its time really, which from seeing those, whenever it got slow, I wasn't getting like bored out of my seat or anything while I was watching it, because I was still having a good time watching it, seeing a man's life changing when he sort of becomes into enters this new world he's in, and then he feels kind of safe. I kind of really like for its story, and then for seeing other scenes that do happen in this film, it does get pretty interesting of what is really happening in this movie, which it always had me interested, nearly towards the edge of my seat while I was watching it. But in the end, Concrete Cowboy, this was a great Western drama with very well acted performances, two that I personally like, which were McLaughlin and Idris Elba. It's solidly well directed, although again there was some kind of small issues I had. Mainly it's some subtle writing that was kind of a bit less forgotten, and there were like few essence that were kind of a bit forgotten, and some elements of its concept which kind of fell a bit off. But still, if you're a fan of Western dramas, or if you're a fan of any of these actors, this is definitely worth the one to see. And again, it's on Netflix, so just to let you guys know it's on Netflix. So that's all I have to say about Concrete Cowboy. So overall, I'm going to give Concrete Cowboy a B+. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my review of Concrete Cowboy. If you did see the film, let me know what you think of this. Did you have a great time with it, or did you not really care for this at all? So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for my next AK After I Saw review, which I'm not sure I'm going to be doing for Thursday, but Friday I'll be reviewing Thunder Force, which that comes out on Friday on Netflix, so stay tuned for that on Friday. And again, this has been Fogan's Media Corner signing off.